Okay, so I'm back in the workshop and I want to do a little short video, well not a short video, I might drag on a bit. It's about this bike that I bought. I'll tell you a brief history. I could go on for ages. There's a big saga about this bike, but I'll give you the brief story of it, and it's why anybody who's interested in 500 or 350 Triumph Twins should really watch this video, because this has drove me nuts for about a week. This engine has been rebuilt a minimum of 4 times. That's as I know of. And for the same problem, smoking, really bad smoke. And not just a little bit of smoke, this is horrendous smoke. And it's been rebuilt 4 times. It's had thousands spent on it. And I've known about it for 4 years, but the actual problem's been on the bike for a minimum of 7 years. So this guy who I talked to on the internet, I've never met him. I asked him what I was doing with it. He said it was back at the garage. He'd abandoned it and it was basically a dead duck. So I bought it off him, knowing the problem, because I wanted to have a look at this bike. I wanted to kind of try and get my head around what was happening, because there's a long story to it. So basically I get the bike down here, and it was semi in bits. The barrels were off and the head was off, and I found all sorts of things that weren't right, but nothing I could put my finger on that was causing this fault, until I come to put these rocker boxes on, front and back. The problem was, when I put the back rocker box on, I couldn't get any valve clearance on the right hand side of the bike. No matter what I did, I couldn't get a valve clearance. Even taking the tappet adjuster out of the rocker arm, there was still no clearance. So I took the rocker assembly off and I stripped it down, and I couldn't see anything wrong with it. I must have had to put it on, took it off 5-6 times. So it was obvious there was something wrong with it. So basically I went on the internet, asked about, I had some suggestions. Was there a known problem? I asked a couple of mates of mine and they hadn't come across it. And I decided there was something wrong with the rocker box, or the rocker shaft, this thing. The rocker assembly, the shaft and the rockers. There was something to do with this rocker assembly. There was a problem with it. So I couldn't see it. I tried measuring it and all sorts. So basically I went to it and I bought 2 replacement rocker boxes off eBay. I put the one on the inlet. As soon as I put it on, I've cured the problem. I can now get a valve clearance. So I've been trying to find out what the problem is. I've been measuring it all sorts, and a fella on the internet suggested, he'd searched for the internet as well for me, and he suggested there was a problem with an historical problem with the handle or the material on the bottom of these cams here. Basically what was happening was, let's just put this in position. What was happening was, that's your rocker assembly. I've mocked this up on a piece of wood. I've drilled a hole in a piece of wood and I put this drill in there. And this is acting as the rocker shaft. This is the rocker. Okay, and that I put this piece of wood here as a datum point, so it goes back to exactly the same place. What was happening was, I couldn't get any clearance here on this like that. When it was in position, even with the adjuster out, get the adjuster here. This now adjuster screws into there. It should peep through. I don't know how far it peeps through. Not so far. Right. So it should peep through like that. Right. And I couldn't get any clearance here. Nothing. Even taking this out completely, there was still no clearance. On the other side of the bike, I'll do that. With this screw out, the rocker will move loads. But on this side, I can't get any clearance at all. So to take the rocker screw out, and it's tight. So I take it out and I measure it up, and I can't see anything wrong with it. So a fellow on the internet suggested there was an historical problem with that the catching the valve spring top, the cover, the retainer, right? And the problem is when all this lot is built into this and it's on the back, you can't see any of this lot. It's all hidden. So what I've done, I've drilled a hole in a piece of wood, stuck my drill in there, which is the same size as this, mounted all this up, so I've got some datum points to measure from. So I've got that point touching that piece of wood there, so it comes back in exactly the same place. I've marked the wood so I know if it's moved, and I've put some scribe lines on here, scribing where this comes to, where the, you know, the handle of these and what have you. And it's really interesting, this, it's really interesting. Put that on there, let's try the other one on. See, that's a little bit further down, there's a little bit more, there's a bit more meat on that, you can see there, than not really, it's not in it, there's nothing in it, a couple of thou. Right, so what I've done, I've mocked all this up, and I've got a bolt here. What I've done, it's difficult to explain this. This is where you assume that's going to push on the valve stem, and it's got to be in line. That valve stem must be in line with that, because you can't have it pushing at an handle. It's got to hit it fairly much straight on that, so it's pushing down. So what I've done, I've take this out. I've made up this, and what this is this is 1 inch across there. Now that is to simulate the top of the valve retainer, because that's a 1 inch diameter retainer. The spring will be 1 inch diameter as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is screw that into there. Let me just put this down a second. Right, so what I've got now is a bolt into that threaded portion, which is in line with that will be the line of the stem, that will be the centre line of the stem of the valve. Right, so if you offer this up, it starts to catch. My pencil's gone on the floor. The edge of that there starts to catch that rocker assembly at that point. You look at that distance there. Okay, so that's catching there. This is the same diameter as the retainer for the spring. The distance, it's got to be the top of the there's got to be a distance between there and there. The valve, top of the valve is actually here like that, right? And that's where your valve clearance is. Now that now is catching there. And if I change that and put the other one on, that goes a lot farther up. You see there, it's a lot, that gap is a lot further before it starts catching. It's about, I think the other one starts catching around about there. The other one catches there, and on this one there's like a gap there. It's all very, very close. It's crazy close, this. It's crazy close. So what was happening was when this was in position, when the push rod's up here, that was on, the valve can't move because the valve spring is sitting there. An adjustment, because this adjuster wasn't doing anything. You could screw it out and the rocker couldn't go any further this way because the push rod's stopping it, and it can't go down because the valve spring was stopping it, so you can't get any clearance here. And what happened was, when you started the engine up, the rocker would come down and kick the valve spring over like that and jam the valve open. So the valve was open all the time. And once it was open, even when it come back, well, it didn't come back, it stuck open like that. It's bonkers. I'll see if I can show it a little bit better, just a second. This might illustrate it a little bit better. It's difficult to explain, but you can see this is the retainer on the valve spring. As that goes up there, it hits that and then it starts to cam over like that. Now I'll put the other one on. This is the one that was giving me a problem. Right, this is the other one, the new one. Look at that. See, it goes up a lot further before it gets interfered with the. See, it's right up. The other ones, when it gets to that position, it's kicking the valve over. With this one in that position, there's a bit of clearance. So it's literally a couple of thou off that surface there that needs taking off. But it's this one. That one's the problem. It's that surface there. It's literally, it's nothing. But it runs now. The bike runs now. It doesn't smoke. It's still not right because there's other issues with the carburetors worn to blazes. But it doesn't smoke. I had this running yesterday. No smoke whatsoever. I rang the guy up who had the bike and I said, did it smoke from cold? He says, as soon as he kicked it over, he says the smoke was horrendous. So it was obviously unburnt fuel. So if you have one of these bikes, you need to be aware of that. And apparently it is a known problem. I've never heard of it, and I've spoke to a few people who've never heard of it. But one guy did search it on the internet and he found some reference to it. Alright, bye. I've just made this mandrel here to try and see this a bit better. So basically I've put this mandrel in the tappet adjuster, and this is a better fit now. So if I offer this into there, you see that starts to catch there. That's catching there now. Look at the size of the gap. When I get to there, it starts to kick over. That's catching there now. And to take that off, yeah, Yeah, I'm coming in now. Look how much closer that is. That's barely catching at all, and that's the difference.